Hello guys, before this video starts, just gonna say today music has been brought to you by Audio Library. You can go check their site out, I'm gonna leave the description down below. And today's song is called Hey Sailor by Letterbox. So, see you in the video. Now, today's video is Let's Discuss, however, I'm going to put it in tutorial section and how to use because it is very important for anybody who wishes to create games, and I'm going to put out a good amount of Blender user tutorials to create a game. So, let's get started. Now, first off, in order to create a game, we have to understand that there are two primary mechanics, two primary essentials that you need to fulfill before creating any type of a game. And those are wish for knowledge and basically I wish to know curiosity question. And the second is one I want to win and power question. Now, every game that is in a way successfany and very good made, these two questions have a nice synergy like a yin-yang, and any game you wish to create needs to have these two questions either emphasized or satisfied in any way. For instance, I'm going to use Mass Effect as an example, where at the end of the game, I'm talking about Mass Effect 3, the ending is bad because it does not answer any of these two questions. Because if you take a renegade choice in Mass Effect 3, you are woken up in rubble, which means that basically you do not know what happened. So the question of knowing is not answered, and the question of did we win? Because in the last scenes of the game, the war is still raging on. There is no pause. There is no final effect of saying yes, the war is over. Yet we see in the animation everything done in such a way that we can guess that the war is over. However, we are not convinced. We are not, basically it's not answering fully those two questions. And if I compare this, for instance, to, well, I'm going to use Mario, where the question of knowing is this world that we have met for the first time, Mario 2, of course I'm talking about the old NES game. Now, here, when we talk about knowledge, we are curious to know what is at the end of the tunnel, at the end of each level. Basic curiosity and need for a win is very emphasized here. However, when you reach the end level, you're met with the princess, which is, well, completion. You know that you have saved the princess, and you know that you have won, which is very important. Now, if we compare this to MOBAs, in each of MOBA, I'm talking about multiplayer online games, the good games usually emphasize power, because in multiplayer we are competing, we wish to compete against other players, and of course it is very important that we basically win. And when we look, for instance, in World of Warcraft, here the question of knowing is extremely emphasized, because here there is a good balance between I wish to know and I wish to win. And in League of Legends the emphasis is on I wish to win. However, in League of Legends a good time and concept was put into each of its heroes. So the question of knowing how this character was created, how this character works, how it thinks, has been put into game, which basically to us tells how we should play them, and in a way this feeds the I wish to know question, and on the other hand I wish to win question is inherent in the MOBA. So yeah, now when we are talking about games before you do anything concrete, you need to be sure that each of these two questions has a certain, how should I say, a bite size, a proper bite size for anybody who wishes to play your game. You have to put a good portion into I wish to know and a good portion into I wish to win. So basically feeding human, in a way, feeding everybody these two questions will make your game interesting. Because if you create a game and it does not have any backstory, just the gameplay. For instance, you're taking a spaceship and it's going up and down and you're trying to destroy other robots. The question of knowing, never asked, never satisfied, will leave people very, very dry, and people will basically think the worst of your game. Now, and when I'm talking about games in general, I can basically use these two parables for each game and show you where each of these two have been met, and where in bad games where these two have not been satisfied completely, or not satisfied at all. Now, that's not a problem, but I'm telling to you because technically this is a tutorial, and yeah, you should be aware of this, very aware. Now, when we talk about game creation, you have to understand that each game you create can be made in a different medium. What is a medium? Well, a medium is basically from pen and paper to a computer code. When you create a game, the game you create can be written in Word or Excel, or it can be written on paper. Literally, it can be written on paper and use a dice, and this is called a medium. When you create a game, if your game functions basically on pen and paper, there is always a way to upgrade your system and create a 3D game. Now, this is more of a tutorial, so yeah, bear with me. I know I'm talking a lot, but yeah. If you create a game in a code, in any engine, that game also can be downgraded, can be created in pen and paper mode. So good planning for each game. I suggest you put it on paper, put some kind of a written record for yourself, create connections, basically create a script. You need a script, believe it or not. A lot of game developers forget this, but yes, you need a good and nice script. And without it, there is no upgrade, no ability to upgrade, because only when you have a script you can do stuff. Now, let's continue. So, when we are talking about game engines, Blender is a very nice game engine because it has everything you need. It has ability to create 3D animations, which you can use for cutscenes, which you can use for anything, and even in Blender itself you can create real-time cutscenes. So yeah, it's very nice. Blender is free, everybody can use it. Every game you put out can be a beta version or alpha version of what you want. So with a little bit of coding you can create a very good experience for yourself to see where you made mistakes or to improve. Now, when we are talking about better game engines, we are talking about Unity and we are talking about Unreal Engine. Each of these engines can use assets from Blender. In this way, everything you create in Blender can be exported and used in either of these two bigger engines. Now, the coding in each of these engines is quite similar to Blender, and in this way learning to code in Blender and learning to use nodes and everything in Blender will basically be a good training for your Unreal Engine or Unity experience, depending on what you want to do. Now, this is why I'm going to do Blender first, And once I'm done with Blender, I'll be doing Unreal Engine later, at some point later, when I basically create one full game for you to enjoy. And yeah, this is me announcing that at one point I'll be doing more than just Blender and Linux tutorials. I'll do a lot of tutorials, but Blender is my primary one. So yeah, there is an option for anybody who is interested to install Unreal Engine in a Linux machine. There is, I'll show you eventually in my Manjaro. I installed it, it runs, it operates, I can use it and export games for Linux. So yeah. And of course, Blender is very useful because you can use it on all and export any game you create on all three platforms. You can export it for Windows, you can export it for Linux, and you can export it for Mac. So it's very useful for anybody who wishes to get to know game making and have an idea of what they need to create stuff. Now, the game you're watching in the background going up lights out is called Mind Test, as you can see here, and I believe it's for Windows, Linux, and I believe for Mac you can download this. It's a C++ game, so yeah, if you're interested you can download it and play it for free. And that's it for this tutorial. Basically tutorial or let's discuss. Yeah, it's yeah. So I hope to see you soon.